Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Tim Bagonis. I'm the CMO here at D-Tools, and I'll be joined by Seth Enos, Product Manager for System Integrator. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar on what's new in System Integrator version 20. So some basics. This is a presentation. There will be no audience audio, but we will have a questions panel. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and write them in the questions panel in your dashboard. We'll do our best to answer them throughout the presentation, but we will have dedicated Q&A time at the end. So if you see your question not being answered, don't worry, we see it. If it's not answered, that means we'll get to it when it's time for the Q&A. And if you need more real estate on your screen, go ahead and click the arrow and that'll collapse the control panel. So a bit of what we'll cover today. I'll just give a very brief overview of D-Tools and SI System Integrator, and then we're going to do an overview and demonstration of the new features in SI v20. And again, we'll do the Q&A, and this webinar will be recorded and distributed to all at the completion of the webinar. So a little bit about D-Tools. Obviously, if you're at this webinar, you're familiar with us and you're using our software, thank you very much. For those of you who may not know, we've been in the industry for 25 years. This is our 25th year in business. And, you know, we are purpose-built for the system integrator. We premiered in 1998 at CEDIA. It started in the residential space. We've grown to commercial AV, commercial security, HVAC controls, and we have over 7,000 companies in over 90 countries that use our software. We have a strong, dedicated team. We continue to build on the platform, and we've really invested in our professional services and ensuring our customers are successful with our application. And we're really pleased to share with you the latest version of our software. So System Integrator is our flagship product. It is a comprehensive end-to-end solution that helps integrators manage their sales, engineering, project management, service management, integrations with third parties for back office, CRM, accounting, and we also have very robust business reporting. We have a business intelligence engine that allows you to really measure, view what's happening in the business. And as an end-to-end solution, when the tool set is used in its entirety, it can dramatically improve the operational efficiencies and profitability of our customers. And we're very proud to have built this platform over the last 25 years and continue to add new features really based on your feedback, for our customers' feedback. So let's take a look at some of the new features in version 20. So as always, we do focus on adding new capabilities and enhancements to the platform that have been requested by you, our user community. This new version is no exception. We have added a number of new capabilities, and chief among them is we're changing the way that SI associates labor to products when being added to a project. So with this upgrade to version 20, we're introducing now multiple labor types for products. This was formerly referred to as phase labor in previous versions of SI. And what this means is that you can now create multiple labor types which can be applied to the products in your SI catalog. That means when you're setting up your labor rates, you can now define any number of labor types, and time can now be associated to each labor type. This could eliminate the need to create labor items as accessories, and we'll get into that a little bit in more detail. But multiple labor types can help account for all of the labor required to effectively install, calibrate, program, or commission a specific product. This will give you more accurate estimation and helps with your job cost reporting. We're going to discuss more on this particular feature as we move forward. This is a major change to the application, and we'll get into that in a moment. For those of you who use Microsoft Active Directory, we now have an integration directly with Azure Active Directory. This will provide you with centralized user management, single sign-on. It enables multi-factor authentication, or MFA, and this will help improve compliance, security, and scalability. Adding single sign-on and MFA also helps reduce administrative burden and ensures that all users will have appropriate levels of access to SI. We've added 10 new calculated fields for projects in the custom fields area. This will allow you to create a set of formulas using numeric fields to create the desired output. By adding custom fields that enable calculations, you can improve the accuracy of your quotes, designs, and installations. These custom fields can be used to calculate, complex formulas and variables such as commissions, freight, design fees, and it really helps to ensure that your quotes and your estimated costs are as accurate as possible. The results of these calculations can be added to customer-facing and management reports to really improve that communication and accuracy in reporting. You can also now assign multiple vendors for products in your catalog, this helps because then if your preferred vendor may be out of a product, it allows you to quickly assign another vendor in case there's supply chain issues or products are not available. It really just helps save time if you run into an issue with your preferred vendor. And as with any of these product releases, we've added a number of feature enhancements to many areas of the application, including catalog, projects, reporting, price rules, and more, as we'll touch on in our demonstration. But first, we want to dive a bit deeper into multiple labor types, as this is, as I mentioned, a significant change to the application, and there's going to be some things to consider before making the decision to upgrade and roll this out for your organization. So I've asked Seth to join me and kind of really, go a little deeper into multiple labor types. Seth?
All right, great. Thanks, Tim. So I'm going to demonstrate all of this very shortly, but so some of it may be a little redundant as we go, but this is good. You need to see this multiple times, I think. So what we're going to be doing in version 20, what we've done is we've taken away labor calculations based around phases. Okay, and that's used to be what you did. You would assign a phase to a product which had labor rates behind it, and then a number of hours, and you've got one assignment per product. It's a finished piece of equipment at an hour. Now we're going to let you add multiple labor types in this next release. So, but we didn't get rid of the phases as a concept inside of SI. There's still a very valid grouping tool or a filter, a way to organize projects. So when you're ordering or scheduling, oftentimes when you do run reports, you want to potentially group by a particular phase or see where you are within the job's life cycle. So you will still have that concept of being able to assign products phases. We essentially, renamed the old phases to labor types, and there are a few other little changes in there, but your structure that you're used to seeing for phases with your base miscellaneous management design, that's all still there for labor types. You'll just be able to add multiple labor types to a product versus being locked into one when we were doing the phase labor. So some considerations. Now, this change will take place when you upgrade to v20. I'll talk about exactly what's going to happen with your current phase list and then this new list of labor types. But before you decide to start using multiple labor types per product, there are some considerations, and some of you may not want to go this way. This is simply a long overdue feature that's been requested since pretty much since we started the software company and locked into one phase and one set of hours per product. It's been requested that we make this change, and we're finally doing it. But some of you may be happy the way you're doing your current labor billing or charging for labor on projects when you're quoting. You don't have to change. You can still just assign one labor type per product and one set of hours. Or if you're used to using labor accessories, there are reasons with labor accessories that you may not want to go to this method. If you like being prompted for the labor versus having it add automatically, you're going to want to still use accessories. We have the ability to prompt. Or if you add labor items to tasks and rely on those to have that item on there to bring in its estimated hours while you're trying to schedule the task, you may not want to switch to this. So in addition to what I've just spoke there, and I'm going to show in detail, there are some custom reports that will break when you start using multiple labor types. So they're listed here, and I'm going to go into a lot of detail with these for you and let you know your path for getting your reports upgraded. But there's the project summary report. That is a standard report that runs in the software. We'll show that. The other two are sub-reports, and they're pretty specific when they actually get used, but you may have customized a report and may have customized that particular sub-report. Maybe if you were changing, say, the color or the background color or something like that. It could be graphical changes, but there were a lot of changes made in SI, let's put it that way, regarding the switch from a single phase hours for a product to multiple labor types and hours per product. So we were fortunate that these were the only 3 reports affected, and that 2 of them are sub-reports that you may not even ever use. And I'll show you exactly how those are run when we get into the demo. Having said that, hopefully no one's too nervous about this, and we'll jump right into the demonstration. Okay, so here I am about to log into System Integrator version 20. And the first feature or new feature I'm going to talk about is the integration to Azure Active Directory. And that's what you see right here, this little option that's new. And that will only display and be available to you once you choose to enable this integration. And there is setup involved to do this, but the reason we did this is we have a lot of companies this is becoming more and more required that they have like a single sign-on option. And this is our first product, Azure Active Directory, that we were offering inside of System Integrator as a single sign-on option. And it also, because it's Azure Active Directory, it also provides you, or can provide you, multi-factor authentication just based on your settings in Azure Active Directory. You know, if you require that your team has to, validate themselves every 30 days, they're going to have to do that, whether it's through text with a code or the Authenticator app on your phone. That's how ours here is set up. You won't get to see that today because I'm authenticated for the next X amount of days. But I'll show you exactly how this works. So again, once you've set it up, and we'll talk about the setup, you have this option here to connect via Azure Active Directory. So, and what that really means too is we're no longer going to store your passwords inside of System Integrator. So it's a much more secure login. And again, a lot of our clients, they're seeing this required more and more. And so again, this is our solution for those users. When you click connect, it's going to just make sure your user is connected to an AAD user, Azure Active Directory, and then you will choose your user here. Now, again, if it's been X amount of days or whenever your policy is on your setup through AAD, when you click this, you may have to authenticate further. But through all my testing today. I'm authenticated for the next little while here. So there we have it. I'm logged in. So let's talk a little bit about the setup there. I'll just go to control panel. And it's under our integrations. I'll just, instead of searching, I'll just scroll down to where our integrations are. And here it is. I'm not going to pull that open right now, but all that's in there is a checkbox to enable it. And then you're going to put in a client ID and a tenant ID that you're going to get from Azure Active Directory once you go through the setup. So I will show that part via this here. This is the new page we have for our help. It'll be out there and live when we release and start rolling this out. But this is full instructions of what you'll have to do to set this up, and we walk you through it step by step. It's quite a few steps, but that's secure. It's Azure Active Directory. But really, what you're ultimately going to get to, I should have scrolled down better than that. Sorry, everyone. This is what it looks like in our software, where you enable it and then put your client and tenant ID. I have no idea if I should be showing those publicly, so I gray them out, and that's why I didn't open it. So that is the first part there. You enable it in the software, and then once you've done that, you can either import users from Azure Active Directory or link existing SI users to your Active Directory users, and I'll show you this. So when you open this up, there's a section up here for Azure Active Directory. Once you've enabled it, oops, sorry, expand that a little bit. And here you can import, link, or sync. So I'm going to click import. And it's going to make me authenticate or say, who is this? And here is a list of what we have in our test bed out there for Azure Active Directory. At least the one I'm connected to, and you can choose to import somebody if you want to, and I'm going to go ahead and just choose one just to show that a user here that when you are importing, you can import multiple at a time. You will choose a user group that is required because all of your permissions for SI are still going to be controlled by us. So we need to know who is this, who are these people, what user group do they belong to, and then optionally you can do roles if you use roles in the software, and those are, you have multiple options for that. And the link is just very similar. You select a user. This one happens to be linked already, but you click link and it will pull up that form and say, who are we connecting this to in Azure Active Directory? And once you've done that, any existing users, they'll be sent an email automated through the system here with their new login credentials. Well, not really, because we don't know their password. They'll be sent their username, which is their email in Azure Active Directory, and then let them know that you're going to use your standard credentials in for AAD to log in moving forward into SI. So yeah, their existing password will no longer work once they're linked to Azure Active Directory. So I hope that's clear. While I'm talking about a change like that, I wanted to mention a few other things that we did that we're not going to really show today because they're background changes, but they're also important again as the needs of our users change. We're long overdue for removing SQL Server Compact Edition 4.0 as one of our prerequisites. That software was end of life or deprecated by Microsoft, but I don't want to say how long ago, but it was like 2 years ago maybe. But we're finally no longer using that. I know that's a big concern for a lot of our users that have those pesky IT departments where they don't like software that's deprecated running on their machines. We understand, we totally do. So we're a little behind on that. So now that's going to be replaced with SQL Server Local DB. And again, it's not a change you'll even notice. It's just a prerequisite that's going to load, and that will replace Compact Edition for, we primarily use that for syncing project files, making sure everything works there in the display when you're looking at your project grid is correct. So SQL Server Local DB is just, it's kind of in between sizes of Compact Edition and SQL Server Express. It's like a mid-size one, and it is supported, and it's not end of life. So we've done that. And another change that we've done here really in this one is we're no longer going to support the SI client being installed on 32-bit machines. I don't know how many of, well, actually we do know how many. If you have 32-bit machines, you'll be receiving an email from us because the list is so small. I'm going to write those emails personally. But I think there were 4 or 5 of you out there that are still using 32-bit OS. So when you upgrade, our registration system checks the OS, and we know that most of these machines are likely very old virtual machines, just based on the amount of RAM we saw. Like there's like 2 gigabytes of RAM, 3 gigabytes of RAM on these machines. I don't even know how you're using those, but there's again a handful of you that have 32-bit and likely virtual machines. In our opinion, that's what they have to be. But unless you really have a really old physical machine. But the thing is, it will not install. It'll let you know during install. It's just not going to happen for the upgrade. We are requiring that, and that is going to increase just the speed of almost everything in the software. I mean, reporting, especially, we saw drastic improvements. So, anyways, those are some background changes that I did want to bring up. Okay, moving ahead, let's go to the catalog real quick. And I'm just going to talk about multiple vendors for product. I'm going to end, everyone, just so you know, on the multiple labor types, because we'll go right into Q&A after that, so we'll have the topics there. Multiple or alternate vendors for product, however you want to look at it. This was never available in our software, and when we built that years ago, it was just one vendor per product, and then on a per project basis, you could always certainly change your vendor, but we didn't store that information in the catalog to say, well, who can I get this part from? It's not like all distributors are going to have what you need, or you don't necessarily want to use every distributor. You have partnerships and relationships with some, but as we saw, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, if you recall that fun time where supply chain issues were a big problem, and just because you're loyal to a vendor doesn't mean that their 2-month backlogs to get you this product is going to work for you on particular jobs, that you're going to have to try to source this equipment from somewhere else. So now you can, if you want to, store multiple vendors or an alternate vendor per product. So let's open one. Which one did I set up? We'll open this, and I'll take you to the order tab. So prior to this, the order tab, you had one vendor, as I mentioned before, but now we're going to have a list here. Again, I can't imagine more than 3 or 4 here in this list, but who knows? For a single product, mind you. But here we have one. If you only have one vendor, they'll be considered your preferred, but you can always change that as needed. And as you can see, the values for these vendors are over here. This is the purchase cost field we put in a few releases ago that helps when you're dealing with bulk equipment. So they can have different purchase costs. One vendor may be different than the other. Just so you're aware too, we have vendor partners inside of SI, and what a vendor partner is, it is a vendor that you partner with, for lack of a better word, and they provide you your pricing, meaning your costs. Generally, I think it's like they give you an MSRP and then what your cost should be. Then, of course, you set your selling price, right? Well, I just want you to know that you can have multiple vendors here that are partners. If you're partners with 2, you'll see that it's a partner set cost. We have that here, column, and it will just let you know whether it was partner set or not. And yes, you're able to again toggle between these as needed when you're going to order. So it seems like a little change, but it was a big deal to a lot of our users. And again, in the last 3 years, this one really picked up, and it was something we thought we would try to knock out in this release. Okay, let's go ahead and close out of that. There's a new type of custom field for projects. Custom fields are extremely popular in our software. Our users use them extensively, and we always hear that we still don't have enough of them, even though we've at every release, I think for the last, I don't know, 2 years, I want to say we've added custom fields of some sort, whether we're giving you more of a certain type of custom field or adding new types. In the last few years, I know we've added hyperlinks out there. I forget what the other one was. Oh, the list type ones that allow you to create a custom list. That was, I believe, was in the last few years as well. So here we're going to introduce yet another type, and it's just for creating custom calculations. And to show that, I'm going to have to move out of here. Let's just go to project custom fields. So when we did switch all these different types, you can see when you're adding them now, if you all know this, we tell you how many of each type you have, how many are in use, and how many are available to you. So we've added 10 of these, and I don't have any created here, but these are calculated types. And this could be used for anything. And you know, this has definitely been a client request to be able to create their own custom formulas, but our professional services team has really wanted this to be able, when they're working with our users and they need to come up with some calculation, whether it be a commission on a project or anything. I mean, anything you need a calculation for. So we built this tool. It's a way for you to create a group, so you could name the custom field commission. I hope I spelled that right. Create group, and what you're going to do here is you're going to add fields and values to this. So a value is just a value you type in, but the fields that we've given you to choose from, as you can see, are quite extensive, and they even have other custom fields in here, like number custom fields and so forth. So this is a huge list, all project related calculations and dollar values, if you will, or numbers at least, that you can choose from. Like if we said the project price, and then we're going to multiply that times, I don't know, 0.025. Again, I didn't come up with an example for this. We'll save that, and that's the first part here. And then I want to create another group, and we're going to then subtract a value of 150, and I'll do that. And you can see you're building out this list here for this commission, and you're going to be able to build as many of these lines as you can. So you build one group, as we call it, a formula, and then you'll have an operator here for what the next formula is being done against that first one. So that's hopefully pretty straightforward, but these will become, I imagine, pretty powerful for you over time to be able to come up with the numbers that you need. Because, you know, yeah, we have limitations on our software. Even like when we have like something like a price rule, the formulas are pretty set in there for how we would calculate these. These give you a lot more flexibility to build out a pretty complex calculation. And we know that many of you have these awesome spreadsheets that you've built over the years. And with Excel, we can do anything we want with this formula and take this value, do this. Well, we wanted to give you something close to that here to be able to put some numbers in the software and make this custom per product. So I'm not going to even save that one. I'm just going to go ahead and close out of there for that example. But so that's a new type, and remember there are 10 of those. And before I move on to labor types, I did want to mention just real quickly another little feature we did, since we're kind of speaking of formulas there, for price rules. We've had price rules for a long time in the software. They now can be managed out here, which is nice. There's price rules and labor price rules. Now we've had these in the software, but you used to have to go to our catalog, the Product Explorer, the Labor Explorer, in order to manage these. So we added them out here to the control panel for one thing, and then on top of that, we added grouping to them. So let's have a look here. These are my price rules that happen to be on this build, and price rules are complex. If you guys know what they are, if you guys don't know what they are, here's a price rule. You build them, You can name it if you don't want to do it based off the formula. You could call it, XYZ pricing. And here's my formula for that. But basically, you choose what field, your destination field that you're going to be affecting, what price type that is. And remember, we can have up to 50 price types in the software. I only use 3 here for examples, but that list, you can have up to 50 of these. And then after choosing that, you can choose a source and an operation here, and a value. And you're building a formula to try to set something, and you can see it's a cost, it's a price, it's a margin, it's a markup. What is your destination field that you're looking for here? Well, that's fine. We had those for a while, but you would have to oftentimes to determine your product price type, or your product price. It takes more than one of these formulas. It's more than one price rule, as we call them. Like I need to apply this one, and then I need to apply this one, or I apply this price rule first to get my cost, and then I apply this one to get my price, and then I apply this one again to however you manipulate your data. It's manual. You have to remember, and then each manufacturer or vendor, however you do it, could have a different formula, right? And or multiple formulas, either like price rules. Well, I have to remember for this particular vendor, it's these 4 price rules I need to run each time the pricing changes. So the groups will allow you just to add existing price rules here and execute in the order that you've put them in. That's the move up and move down here. So one of the things, like you say, if I say MSRP here. So my unit cost A equals MSRP minus 50. In a perfect world, you make 50% margin on everything, right? So I do that, but so that's my cost. Well, what if my cost is the same for all 20 price types I'm using? I, again, would have to run this rule 20 times in the past. Now you can just say, all right, then do that one, then do that one. So once unit cost A is set, unit cost B equals unit cost A, unit cost C equals unit cost A. And that's just a very simple example of how this can save you a ton of time just on setting a cost there for all 3 of my price types. But I think a lot of you will see the value here because of how you use it. I know it's much more complex than what I showed here, where you're going to have these formulas, or sometimes it's 6 different price rules in order to get to that final value you're looking for. So now you can, again, build these groups and save yourself some time. Okay. Now, the big one. Let's talk about this change. Okay. So labor types. So here we go. Let me see what I want to show first. In fact, what I am going to show is this. This is v20. So this is a product that's open, and I brought you here to show you how or what you're used to see. And again, I just don't have another machine, but here is a phase, and I'm just going to say it's finished for now. Finish phase 1 hour for this particular product, and that's how products would come down when you downloaded them from our library. There's 3 phases that we use out there for names: rough in, trim, and finish. Now you could have mapped those to different names, of course, but those are the default 3 that we have out there. And that's how labor was charged for products. Now, if you wanted to charge additional labor, you could add labor accessory items as accessories, as I mentioned. Some people use that as that workaround. Some people prefer labor items as accessories. So the point being here, this is what it used to look like when you looked at a product. So on upgrade, let's open up a product. Do the same one. I just want to show you that, okay, this product prior to upgrade, it was assigned the finish phase, and I think an hour. We've moved phase here to the general tab because, again, we took away its labor calculation. So we did put it here on this tab, and your phase list is exactly the same as it is in v20 when you move to v20. It's going to be a list of names, and I'll show you that list in a second. There's just no labor dollar values assigned to it. And this product will be assigned 1 labor type, the exact same name that it was before as a phase, and the same hours here. We didn't want to change that for you, and we didn't want to break reporting when we initially release this. And, until you start using multiple labor types, you're not going to notice much of a change at all, except for obviously this part looks different down here. And this is where you can add your multiple labor types if you would like to in this list. So again, while I'm here, prior to this release, how this was done, I forget which piece I want to look at. Look at this one. Yeah, here we go. So here I have two labor items that are accessories. One says in-house rack build, and the other one says programming. This would be an example of where, you know, let's see, the product itself is, we'll just say finish for now, finish 2 hours to install this, but there are accessories here for the other things that are going on. So that's, again, how most of you have this set up at this point. So I wanted to stop and just show you that that's there. So back here, again, on upgrade, we're going to take your current list of phases, and those become, that same list becomes your labor types. Your rates stay all the same. And in fact, here, let's go to labor types. This should look very familiar to you as what you've seen it for, you know, phases forever. And again, this list is going to be identical. You can see my names in here, and I had a bunch of crazy ones with this machine, but rough and trim, finish, and some other ones that are in here, right? Well, that was my phase list in V19. Here's my phase list in V20. It's still here. It's names, and then this is if you want to. These are phase-specific adjustments for product adjustments and miscellaneous parts adjustments. If anybody has questions about those, happy to go into detail. But that's just a part of currently in your in V19. We've just moved them over here with the phases, but no labor is truly associated with these anymore. Because a product can be assigned the finish phase and have 3 different labor types associated with it. So nothing to do with labor as far as the name phases go. But again, you'll be able to still group, sort, filter by phases, because that's still a very valid field. Let me think here. Sorry. What I want to talk about here is some considerations for should you go to using multiple labor types per product, or no, are you happy? Are you happy with the way you're doing things now, and the method won't work for you that we've implemented here? It's things to think about. So let's talk about those. The first being, let's talk about the reports. So when you start using multiple labor types, if you have customized any of the reports I mentioned earlier, which I'll show in a sec here, project summary report as well as those 2 sub-reports, they're not going to work properly for labor types. So they will need to be updated. Now our team will be here to help you. You just have to open a support ticket. If you work with our PSG team, I think you have contact to them. It may roll into a support ticket, but we have members on our team who are willing to assist. We also have full instructions on how you can do this yourself. If you're savvy with your custom reports and you want to go in and make the changes, you can. But first, let's talk about what's truly changing on these custom reports. So to do that, wait, what am I doing? Sorry. I'm going to go to projects in a second, not reports, and show you these settings and then some examples here. Sorry about this. Okay, so the one report that is a standard report, it's when I say that it's a kind of a standalone report that runs, will be the project summary report. This one right here. So let me pick a project here. Oh, and you know what? I already had this pulled up as an example. I forgot. I'm running it anyways, but I didn't need to do that. But there's the button. So now you know that project summary is linked to a management report. And this report, since I've run it, we'll look at it, has this section here where this previously was, coded to look and run by phase. that needs to be changed in this release to run by labor type if you've customized this. Now, if you've never customized this report, which I'm hoping most of you haven't, because it's pretty much, we think, gives you all the detail you might need for a quick overview or a summary of the project. But other of you, I'm sure you've customized, maybe added even or adjusted the way it looks or something like that, even if it's cosmetic. This is one report that will need to be changed, or the only standalone report that needs to be changed. So be aware of that. The other two, I want to pull this up here. Actually, that's not what I wanted to pull up. I want to pull up this. Okay. The other two have to do with sub-reports that are in the project summary section of proposal reports and line item detail reports. And it's an option. So again, you may not even run it the way that it would break, but again, let's talk about it. What we see here is the general way I see our users over the years run a proposal report would be equipment, any adjustments that might be there, one line item for labor, and then any tax. And that one line item for labor is important here. So this is going to work just fine for an upgrade. But if you like to show your labor by phase in the summary, which looks like this, with all this detail, that custom report will need to be updated. That sub-reports to work with this new method of using labor types. And this option, just so you know, that's what I wanted to take you here for. I want to go reports client real quick. Let's go here. When you're editing a definition here, it's this option here. Show labor by labor type in the summary. In V19, it was called phase, but show labor by phase in the summary. This option, if you run that and you like to show that detail, you will need to fix those custom reports prior to running them in V20. But again, that's how specific it is. The other one is, let's show it. I don't know why that's there. This summary option here. This is when you're showing optional totals in your summary, when you have optional items. You guys know what those are in projects. This will need to be fixed. And mine, you can see, is slightly broken right now. You need to fix this. If you ever run this or view this and have customized this, and where that setting is buried, is under report settings. I'm going to pull up here, and I'm going to go to summary, and buried down here is display optional item subtotal. Yes or no? And there's a particular, when this is set to yes, it pulls in a sub-report called the Advanced Project Summary Detail Report. And if you've customized that, that is the other one that will need to be customized. So for one of those reports, one of those sub-reports, we've added a little check here. Here, you can have some old ones here, and I'm just going to run to show you the warning you're going to get. This is just a warning here that will link you out to an article on how to fix that report. And that's if you're running the show labor by labor type in the summary. We're just warning you, hey, this is a kind of a legacy thing here. These reports need to be updated. We are warning. If you're using that one that shows the optional, we don't have a warning for that. That wasn't possible for reasons. I kind of remember the exact reasons, but I don't want to just go into them now. And sorry, I'm going to let this run. It still runs, this report, but my customizations look terrible there. That's how I knew I had a custom one. I put some colors in there. So that's a warning you're going to get. And where those are, again, these are going to be articles out here on our documentation site. This is in our knowledge base for V20. And there's that error you just saw. And yeah, that link takes you right to this page. And this shows what will need to be done. This is the name of the report, what needs to change. We also show you how to do the other sub-report. While you're here, you might as well do that one, and how to bind them. And again, if you're not comfortable doing this stuff, it does involve script changes, meaning we tell you here, go find this section and replace all that script with all this script. So copy and paste, please copy and paste, don't type it. But yeah, if you're nervous about that, open a ticket with us, or if you're concerned about these reports, are they going to break before you upgrade? Contact us and let us know. We will be doing a staged rollout like we always do for our releases. This one might be a little bit slower. Over the next few weeks, it'll start to hit the some of you, and you'll be notified in app. And again, if you're not ready for it, you don't have to do it. You might say, hold up, now I need to see if we're ready. Let's talk it through. But that is just one of the concerns here. These reports, if you've customized them, they will need to be fixed. So let's go back here. There's also 2 new reports just to mention, and their management reports I'll show you, and they were just because of again, it's a pretty big change here. What we've done here is, sorry, I have some custom ones in here. Where are you? Project hours by labor type, right there, and gross labor profit by labor type. So prior to this, there was the gross profit report in the labor hours, in the project hours here, and you could always just create a definition here to group by however you want. Again, commonly, project hours by phase was a pretty common one, and that still may be the way you choose to run this. To me, that makes sense. There could be all kinds of labor types in the rough-in phase, but that's the time I care about, that time frame. How many hours are we looking at there? Or, anyways, they're still valid reports, but the key thing here to point out is why we built these, and this one specifically saying gross labor profit, is you can't group by labor type like you can by phase. It's not possible out here to group by labor type. We didn't give that function. We're not going to. And there is a reason for that. And again, it goes right to the fact that a product can have multiple labor types assigned to it. And when grouping by labor type, we would be repeating the values of those products for each labor type it's associated with, because there's no primary one. These are all my labor types. So keep that in mind. You will not be able to group by them, but we have specific reports that do group by labor types, which again, makes sense for the reports that needed it. Those are the 2 that we had to create. Having said that, for those of you that use our job costing reports, what we did there is, let's pick you and go up here. We didn't take away the by phase grouping, and I'll be honest with you, I have no idea how many of you look at this granularly, but the by phase, I mean, or if it's just I need to see the job cost for the product, just give me the total numbers. But we did, when we released job costs, give you the by phase grouping, and we still have that. You can still do that if you want to, because again, they could have multiple. There's the phases are still assigned to products. There's just multiple labor types there. We take all those values. It all maths out. What we had to add here is a job cost by labor type. And we also did this for your labor utilization report, which is under your timesheet management. And the reason we did this is because, again, here, let me just run it. Look at this crazy thing. I'll just do full screen here and expand this. Now, I haven't renamed any of my labor types or anything like that. But what we don't show here in this section that's broken by labor type is, once again, any values related to the product. There's no product cost down here, no product price. It's all up here in the main one, but we can't give you those values down here without repeating the dollar values for products for every labor type they're assigned to. Anyways, at least how it's implemented now. So that's why you can still see this breakout here, but you're only going to see the labor values. But anyway, that's for those 2 views. We made those changes there. Now, another consideration, I mentioned it earlier during the slides, is another consideration of maybe not leaving your current method of using labor accessories is if you like to be prompted when you're adding a product to a project. Like, I sometimes use this labor, I sometimes don't, or these 10 labors, because however you've set it up. So let me see if I can find another, or that same example was down here somewhere. Let me get it. This is close enough. But again, if you have your accessories set up to, don't prompt me, or wait, sorry, prompt, but don't recommend this one because I don't always use it, and I like to see a list. You're still going to want to stick with those accessories because the new labor type method works just like phases did. You add that item to a job, and it's assigned the labor automatically, all of it. And used to be just one, but now it's all. So if you like that prompt, you may not want to switch up to using multiple labor types. Or if you like adding labor items to tasks, if that is something you do, most of the time it's added just to be able to have an estimated hours on there. If you're that granular and doing that, you probably won't want to switch right away to multiple labor types, because you want to be able to add not physical, quote unquote items, which are labor items, to a task, versus just adding the product and having the labor add there for you. So that's one consideration. The other consideration too also has to do with estimated hours on tasks. Again, if you don't care about estimated hours on tasks, mind you, I'm certain you care about estimated hours on projects. Whether you care about them on tasks, that is, it's split with our users. I think a lot of them lean towards not needing that, but some of you are very granular and like the estimated hours. It helps you during scheduling. There is a consideration when going to multiple labor types is you have to tell us which of those hours for those labor types you want added to the task for that product. And so that's just a consideration. You may not want in-house rack build to be added or programming, because that was done not on site, but elsewhere, or it's going to be done elsewhere. So I don't want that added to the task. So those are some things to consider. I'm sure those will probably have a lot of questions around that, but that's really, other than showing you adding some tools in here, how to add multiple labor types, and the tools we built in here, that's covers the basic concepts and the considerations of switching to this method. Now, if you do want to go to this method, well, what are your options? Well, the first thing you might want to consider is, do you want to change your names? Again, for historically, forever, your quota phases that were assigned for labor were rough and trim and finish. Now, you may have renamed those, especially our international clients, first fix, second fix, final fit versus rough and trim finish. You may already be doing that. You've already renamed them, and products you add, you get assigned that particular, again, I'm talking V20, that phase, and that's the number of hours, and you're been doing that. But really, we used to, of course, break it out there, and we still do in our catalog by rough and trim and finish. What if maybe moving forward, you want to, everything in my current catalog, I want to just call site labor, or maybe I want to call it installation labor, just installation. And then I'll add a bunch of other new labor types that make sense, programming and commissioning and testing and whatever. But I don't want my list to be the same anymore. I've got, my phase list looks good, but now my labor types I get to change. Well, before you go crazy and start changing things, what we built a little tool here that can help you. And my example here is going to be, okay, I've got a mix here. I just upgraded. I've got rough in, trim, finish stuff in my database, and I want to change all of that to site. So you're going to have to create a labor type named site, which I've done. And I'm just going to go here to tools and show you that under labor types here, that's very similar functionality that we've had in the past for adding accessories or alternates, where you can append or overwrite the existing ones. So I'm just going to select all these for this example here and show you that this tool is how you're going to be able to add multiple labor types to multiple products at a time, using the overwrite and append feature. Out here, just keep adding. Again, I'm just going to example. It's going to be staging for half an hour or whatever, maybe short of that, training for 2 hours. I could add this to all of these, overwrite or append. This is the tool to do that. But when you're first making the change, and again, maybe you want to start as the basics here and say, I want to name everything site. So now everything in my database keeps the same amount of hours it's always been assigned, that one value, and it's all called site now. And then I can decide if I want to change and add more of these. We built this little tool down here, and it's generally going to be used here in the beginning. But this lets you set a single labor type and maintain whatever hours those products have for everything that's selected. And this gives me the ability to come in here and say, site, save, and it's going to update all of those here in my product catalog. So now if I open something, it's assigned the finish phase, but on the price tab, I now have 0.25 hours of site labor. So, and then again, I can then use that same tool to filter, select, and say now I want to add X amount of programming line items to these products, and maybe some commissioning and training. So just know that we built those tools for you. I'm glad I was able to get to those in time to show them. And then we also have another tool here. If you do decide to move this direction and you no longer want to use your labor accessories or some of your labor accessories, we have a tool to help you convert them. So if I click this, it just scans my database and finds all products where I have labor items as accessories to these. As long as you're using the rates from the labor type, you'll see them here in this list. We're not going to put over non-billable ones, but we'll let you select any number of these and convert those from, we'll remove the labor line items from the products, and we'll create a labor type for that, again, the name that was here and the number of hours. We can do that for you very quickly with this tool. So it's a nice tool here, but you may find problems in here if you have some things that you're prompting for, or you want to review this before you make the change. Always, you can export this to Excel or PDF for review, and then go through, make your fixes in your labor item catalog, and then come run this again, and you'll be able to switch everything over to that new method should you choose to do it. That is my presentation of some of the new features in SI version 20. There are a few more handful of things, all scattered throughout, and you'll see them in our release notes once we actually release the software. And again, we will be rolling this out soon.